long has it been since we've seen a completed game at release? There is something to be said for buying a game and then finishing said game only to have it drop an expansion DLC, and if that happens to be your favorite game, then the upside is obvious. But this concept has gone a little bit too far, hasn't it? For those of us in the Fallout 76 community, we all know and would find it hard to argue that Fallout 76's release date should have been pushed back by at least a year, because what we got at the beginning tarnished the name of the franchise going forward indefinitely. But it wasn't the first game to do this. The biggest disappointment that comes to mind is No Man's Sky by Hello Games. Originally touted as being a massive space exploration game with amazing base building mechanics and a gripping storyline to boot, it released to some pretty angry reviews, not least of all because it was a kickstarted game and that it had let its donators down by not living up to the promises it gave. It was buggy, broken and empty. But here is the kicker. Read about this game anywhere right now and you'll find that it is framed as the gaming industry's biggest comeback. To put it into context, fans of the game rented a billboard in London to say thank you to the devs for sticking with the game and making it awesome. The media hasn't been nearly as kind to Bethesda at its latest Fallout title, however. In fact, despite patching bugs and dealing with issues out of the gate almost, releasing Wastelanders, Steel Dawn and Reign, One Wasteland, running community events introducing legendary crafting and power armor, new weapons and more, the press is still on the fence as to whether the game is actually good or not. It has a loyal enough fan base but divided in many aspects. PvEers attacking PvPers and ridiculing them over shutting down Nuclear Winter, salty players who lose workshops in-game to other players and accuse them of griefing, and even the most adamant of fans are far from renting a billboard to say thanks to Bethesda. So why is one game so highly praised and the other is still suffering? In a way, it doesn't make any sense, does it? NMS devs went silent for almost a year before they did anything to fix their game, and Bethesda started patching things up after 6 weeks. Still a while for sure, but incomparable really. I can play through the various campaigns now without any game-breaking bugs, where the same bug that stopped my progress in No Man's Sky is still there. The story in No Man's Sky is still very lackluster, whereas the lore in Fallout 76 is well developed, decently mapped and voice acted. On paper, it would seem that Fallout 76 is at least worthy of some praise to put it over No Man's Sky, but there is this very key and vital element which few can ever predict: psychology. Everybody loves an underdog. Yo, Adrian! I did it! In fact, Hollywood spent most of the 70s, 80s and 90s making money off the classic underdog trope, and the story of these two games is no different. You see, Hello Games was at the time a relatively small startup company with a handful of people working there, and Bethesda, a big AAA mega developer with seemingly unlimited resources at its disposal. In short, the kind of villain everyone loves to hate. Despite having been accused of being aboard that particular hate train myself, nothing could be further from the truth, and I can see through the genuine people who are still taking Bethesda to task for things that should be improved or added or subtracted from the game, to the people who are just asshole. Quite frankly, always gonna hate. Pitting these two games against each other is unfair, I hear you say. They are very different genres. Well, yes and no. Both games survive on the premise that there is an open world that you can live in as you please and roleplay in any number of ways. While No Man's Sky seems unlimited due to its ever-evolving list of planets to explore, they all start to look the same after a while, so it also suffers from the same issue that Fallout's map does, just in a slightly different way. In short, it needs to be expanded and improved. If there is nothing else to take away from this comparison, we might at least accept that changes need to be made in the industry, as other AAA devs have followed suit in releasing unfinished, broken products in a rush to get the coins in the coffers, which ends up riling the player base, forcing compensation lawsuits, and just generally treating the client poorly. No one going into a restaurant should accept a half-cooked meal, so why should players accept a half-finished game? All in all, I think Bethesda has earned a little goodwill from the community, and as long as they keep the game evolving, they'll continue to have it. Hello Games will always be the hero in this battle, however, as Bethesda, despite making a wonderful game a couple of years down the line, has less excuses to have done what they did in the first place. What do you think? Are you less likely to pre-order games nowadays due to corporate practices like this? What are your thoughts on the upkeep of 76 and indeed other games you might be playing at the moment that had a rough start? Please leave your comments and thoughts in the comments section below. This is Gizmo First. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you later.